In this video, I'll be discussing plot structure. So, first we have to look at a pyramid, not the Great Pyramids of Giza, but something called Freytag's Pyramid. Now, some of you may have seen this before, but it breaks a story down into 5 sections. There's exposition and conflict in the beginning. In the middle, the action rises and hits a climax, and then at the end, there's a falling action and resolution or denouement. It's known as Freytag's Pyramid. Now, if you want to know more about this, please go and look on the internet. If you want to understand a little bit more about Freytag himself and how he came up with this pyramid, there's plenty of videos on YouTube, but I'm not going to discuss them now. I'm just going to talk about the pyramid itself. So, we begin with exposition. Exposition is the characters and the setting, where just giving the full context and backdrop of the story. We're going to be introduced to the protagonist, possibly the antagonist, and their motives. So, for instance, in The Lion King, one of my favourite films, Mufasa is the king. His brother Scar is clearly jealous and wants the throne. His son Simba is the rightful heir and is set to rule. That tells us all we need to know about the characters before anything important happens. It also tells us about the setting. It's Pride Rock. It's a nice place. There's a delicate balance as things live in the circle of life. Okay, so again, just to reiterate the exposition, character and setting, who is important, where is important. We need to know this because the next thing is the conflict or inciting incident. Now, if I don't know about the character's motivations, then the conflict is going to be a little confusing. Now, because I already know from the exposition that Scar is jealous and wants the throne, the conflict makes a lot more sense. Now, there's 2 types of conflict. There is internal conflict, sort of battle between yourself, depression, for instance, and then there's external conflict. There are 4 big types: man versus man. You have a physical person who is your enemy, man versus nature, sharks, tornadoes, man versus society, and the rules and the laws which govern us. Maybe we want to change them. A lot of dystopian books are about this. And there's man versus technology. Perhaps you've created an evil AI. Now, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about these. There are videos on YouTube. But we're going to look at the conflict in The Lion King. Now, as I said, I have to know about Scar. I have to know that he's jealous in order for the conflict to really make sense. Now, obviously, in The Lion King, Scar kills Mufasa. This is the inciting incident. I actually prefer inciting incident over conflict because in a story, there are many conflicts. You have several. You might have internal and external conflicts, but there will only really be one inciting incident in the story itself. So I do prefer the term inciting incident. The next thing is the rising action. Now, after Scar has killed Mufasa, action slowly has to build. Rising action is a broad term which covers everything which happens until the turning point, the most actionable thing. So in the case of The Lion King, rising action, Simba runs away, Scar becomes king and he lets the hyenas eat all the food. There's drought and there's famine in Pride Rock. Simba grows up with Timon and Pumbaa, develops this whole mantra of Hakuna Matata, no worries, I don't care, it's not my problem, till eventually Nala finds him and encourages him to take his rightful place as the king of Pride Rock and be responsible. This is all the rising action. Basically, as I said, everything that leads up to the climax or the turning point. Now, this is the most actionable piece of a story. It's usually the big boss fight scene at the end. So obviously in the case of The Lion King, the climax or the turning point of the story, the things where everything starts to change and get better, is where Simba fights Scar in Pride Rock. After that we have the falling action and the denouement or resolution. So here, Scar gets beaten by the hyenas after Simba pushes him. The rain comes back to Pride Rock and then again fills the land with food and the necessary nutrients. And then at the very end, the resolution, the denouement, Simba and Nala have a baby. And it's the circle of life all over again. Now, a plot can also be split into 5 acts. You have the Act 1, which is the prologue and can be called the exposition still. Then there's still conflict, rising action and climax in Act 2 and Act 3. And then Act 4, the falling action, Act 5, the denouement. Now, whenever you read a play, for instance, if you read Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare, you are going to see 5 acts, and it's split very similarly. Act 1, exposition, Act 2, conflict, and part of the rise in action. Act 3, rise in action and climax. Act 4, falling action, and Act 5, the denouement or resolution. So why is this important? Why do you need to know about plot? It's one of those things you study from a really early age and are never really told why it's important. But it is important. It's important to know that there is a conflict or an inciting incident and how it's resolved. The reason being is this will tell us about the theme of a story, as I said in the other video. So external conflict, the main inciting incident here. Scar kills Mufasa and he takes over the Pride Lands and destroys the land. He is not a good king. He's not responsible. He doesn't take care of other people. He's very selfish. And then an internal conflict, Simba doesn't want to take the responsibility. He runs away and he believes in Hakuna Matata. The resolution, Simba returns, he takes responsibility, he returns, he challenges Scar, and he rightfully takes his place as the King of Pride Rock. And then at the end, all the land is really beautiful again. We must accept our responsibility and do what is right. We mustn't be selfish, we must think about other people, we must use our power responsibly. The conflict and the resolution tell us about the theme, and that is why plot is important. Thank you for watching, guys.